In some cases, comp photos would enhance the ability to be a better appraiser and to come up with a more accurate value.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome back to the program, everybody. Yes. We're going to be talking comp photos again today. I want to pause here and remind you we are sponsored by three great companies, Alamode being one of them. Folks, speaking of taking comp photos, how would you like to take them right inside the report? Alamode allows you to do this with their mapping feature. As long as your comps are in there before you start driving, you can follow yourself on GPS. It's a great feature of mobile appraising, and you can find it with the Alamode app. It's alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Datamaster, saving 30 to 60 minutes per report. Folks, think of all the time that you spend doing data entry and cut that in half with Datamaster, datamasterusa.com. One more time, it's datamasterusa.com. And finally, we are sponsored by Working RE Magazine. Folks, we're talking about comp pictures today, and several times this year, Working RE has talked about the same topic because it's a hot topic. If you're not following Working RE Magazine, you need to be. It's workingre.com. One more time, it's workingre.com. Folks, this has been an ongoing topic of discussion amongst appraisers, well, forever really, but seems like it's heated up the last little bit. And let me just pause here and say this, and I mean this sincerely. This is not just me trying to harmonize. This is not just me trying to get along with others out there. I have the utmost respect for individuals who are on the other side of the aisle on this. This podcast has never been about just towing the line. It's never been about just getting along. It's always been a little bit on the edge. It's always been about my opinions. I mean, I'm the host, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't have the utmost respect for the professionalism and the opinions of others out there. And frankly, many of them have much more experience than I have, and I am teachable. Help me learn. I just want to share a couple of opinions today about comp photos because it is something that has been out there in the news as of this recording. Now, I might just say this, that many of you who follow this show know that this show does not get posted the week it is recorded. That's not the way I work. I'm a full-time appraiser. I'm boots on the ground. We've been very busy the last several months, as many of you have been. And it's often a month, maybe two, sometimes even 3 months later that these things are posted. Yes, the dirty little secret is out. I sometimes sit down in front of my microphone and record 4 or 5 or sometimes 8 or 9 episodes at a time, believe it or not. And we package those up and send them out. And what I have found is it doesn't really matter that much because the topics that we talk about are pertinent. They're important when you listen to them. And though, yes, we could switch it up for breaking news, and we've done that before, it's not something we do often because these topics are ongoing. These topics are reoccurring constantly, and there's opinions out there. And so there may have been things that transpired between the time this is recorded and the time that it actually gets posted and downloaded by you. But I think that the topic at hand is one that is unfortunately lived on forever, and the topic on hand is comp photos, and should we be taking comp photos? And again, there's some strong opinions out there on one side or the other. Now, let me start with the things that I agree with. And by the way, in fact, let me start with my position. I don't think comp photos are necessary in most cases. I believe they are a scope of work issue, that there are times that they may be needed, and there are times that they may not be needed. Let me give you an example. I just got done approving our new website, at least the new product side of our website. And with that product side, if you go to my website, you can see how this is outlined. And I'm not talking about the Appraiser Coach website. I'm talking about my appraisal website. So a customer in my area goes to my website and they want to order an appraisal. And I've tried to make it as easy as possible. There are 3 buttons right on the home page that they can click on. The first button, and by the way, this is all in answer to a question in bold on the website. It says, what type of appraisal do you need? By the way, there's a kind of a side note here. There is a little marketing tool there that you might use on your own website. It doesn't ask, do you need an appraisal? It already assumes that that's why you're there. Okay, so what type of an appraisal do you need? And the three options are full appraisal, okay, drive-by inspection, or online observation. Okay, and if you click on each of those, then there are some other choices. And basically the purpose of this is to filter people down and make it as easy as possible for them to choose what product works best for them. But let's say they're looking here and they say, you know what, I just want a general ballpark. Online observation is plenty for me. And we're not talking about a lending decision here. We're talking about a personal appraisal. Okay, and then the question comes, what type of report do you need? See the difference there? Okay, what type of appraisal do you need? What type of report do you need? And the two choices are a full report and a letter report. The full report, part of that is photos. And part of that may be comp photos. Maybe that's what the customer and client needs. In other words, that is a scope of work issue. But the other option is a letter report, or as appraisers, obviously this on my website is catered to my potential clients, and they don't know what a restricted report is. Okay, but we as appraisers might know what a restricted report is, and that's really what the letter report is, just worded a little bit different so they understand it. But a letter report basically says same value, but with fewer details. And part of that fewer details is I'm not going to go out and drive comps. This is a desktop report option that I have for individuals to order on my website. In other words, it's a scope of work issue. Okay. Now let's move away from the trees a little bit and look at the forest on the high end from up above. Okay. Isn't comp photos simply a scope of work issue? And with that, I'm going to give credence to the side of those of you who argue that comp photos are necessary. First of all, scope of work. In some situations, absolutely, comp photos could, should, is necessary. Okay, let me repeat that. In some cases, comp photos would enhance the ability to be a better appraiser and to come up with a more accurate value. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you're working in a neighborhood that you're not all that familiar with. And folks, let me tell you, I've worked my area for 24 years. I know my area pretty well, but I still get surprised sometimes when I go out and think, I never knew that was there, right? There are things that I see sometimes when I'm on observation that maybe I didn't see before, or maybe I did and I've forgotten about, what have you. And driving the neighborhood helps me to understand those things. In that situation, those things it may be beneficial to drive by the property. But in a sense, isn't that a business decision? In other words, if it goes to the integrity of the appraisal process, and I would say there are situations that it does, isn't there something to be said about you as a business owner being able to make that decision? And this, to me, comes down to trust. In other words, do our clients trust us to be the experts in the area, to understand and to be geographically competent? And the answer to that has to lie with the client themselves. Do they trust you? Have you gained that trust? Are you worthy of that trust? Now, there are times when comp photos may be necessary. There are times when comp photos would reveal things that would be difficult to find otherwise. Now, I will make this other argument, and again, we're going to do the other side as well here. But I would say those things are rare, honestly, in my opinion. Because I do know my market, I know that Trailwood surrounds Walmart. And I understand which streets actually back to Walmart. And I don't have to drive the neighborhood to know that it's a very congruent neighborhood. They were mostly all built by the same builder. They all have very similar quality. And really the biggest differences are square footage, maybe garage count, but more importantly, their location as in reference to Walmart, Super Walmart at that. Now, folks, that stuff I can get online if I don't know it already. I do know it already, but if I don't, can't I see that from the air? Can't I see that from Google? Can't I see that from Street View, which all of those roads, by the way, have a Street View? I know the argument. Well, Dustin, those things are dated. Sometimes those are 2 or 3 years old. You're right. You know what? And the same Walmart is still there 2 or 3 years ago. Okay. Well, what if there's something new well, know your market. Again, this is in my opinion, folks, and it's just my opinion. It's my show. Okay. I can throw out my opinion, and I welcome your opinion. It seems like I do podcasts on every topic out there, right? And the most comments that come in ever is on comp photos. I know. There's all kinds of things. I mean, we've talked about bifurcated products. We've talked about appraisal waivers. We've talked about Fannie and Freddie and USPAP and everything else. But the most comments that come in on my webpage are regarding comp photos. It's a big topic out there. And I think the reason, and trust me, folks, I'm right there with you. Because it is a business decision, it has to do with the time and your butt in that chair. I'm talking about the driver's seat. When you're driving around taking comp photos, and I know there's a lot of appraisers out there upset that some appraisers are using MLS photos and some appraisers are using drivers and some appraisers are doing things unconventionally. And there's an argument out there for, is that ethical? Is that right? Is that fair? I go out and drive every one of my comp photos. Is it fair that someone else isn't? I mean, I get the argument. I understand the argument. And I think it's a fair argument. And my purpose today is to not necessarily say that there's no credence on that other side. My purpose today is to simply give you my opinion and to help us to pull back from the trees a little bit. I think sometimes we get so involved in doing what we've always done that we forget that there is another way to look at things. Let me repeat that. We get so involved doing what we've always done that we forget that there's another way to do things. In fact, there's not just another way to do things. There are multiple ways to accomplish whatever it is that you're setting out to accomplish. And if I can be so bold, I think, because I've been doing this 20 plus years, I think that many appraisers are in my same boat. And that is, we were raised up, if you will, and I'm using air quotes, we were raised up by a mentor. And that mentor taught us a certain way of doing things. And that mentor taught us that comp photos are a thing, right? You go and observe the property, you come back, you start to do the report, you pull in comps from your MLS and for your tax records, and you start to make adjustments, and you come up with, 4 sales and 2 listings, and then you go out and you take your little camera and you go drive by each one of those and you take their pictures, and maybe you find one that's like, oh, gee, I thought that was a 2-car garage. That's the way it's reported in the MLS, and you know what? From the angle they took it, it looked like a 2-car garage, and son of a gun, it's actually a 3-car garage. Maybe I should do a little follow-up and make sure that third car was actually on there at the time of the sale. So you pick up the phone and you call to verify the sale, and you ask the realtor, was this a 2-car or 3-car garage? Oh, it's definitely a 3-car. Well, your MLS is wrong, by the way. And then you start, you go back and you make an adjustment accordingly, and you wrap up the report and you turn it in. That's just the way we've always done things. And so we get really upset when we find out people are doing things or having opinions on the other side of the aisle. Okay, again, let me stress, I see and even adhere to many of the arguments as to why comp photos are a good idea. But my argument is, shouldn't that be the appraiser's decision? Can't I, as the appraiser, make the decision whether or not comp photos are necessary? And can't I make a statement in my report that says, I did not drive the comps, I'm very familiar with this neighborhood, I understand that comps 2 and 4 back up to Walmart. They were similar quality, similar condition, information came from online sources regarding specifically MLS, picking up the phone and calling realtors. Can't I do that from the comfy seat of my office chair? Well, no, Dustin, that's not the way we do it. Again, is your argument because that's just not the way we do things, or do you have a viable argument? Or let me get a little controversial. Is your viable argument simply a way to support your already founded opinion? That opinion meaning we have to do comp photos. Well, why? Well, and then you start to justify. By the way, I do it too. Okay? My opinion is we shouldn't have to do comp photos if we don't feel they're necessary. And then when you ask me why, I'm going to come up with my justifications as well. That's just human nature. You make a decision, you have an opinion on something, and when someone challenges you, you justify your opinion. Okay, it's not just appraisals, and it's not just appraisers that do that. That's people. Okay, I'm of a certain religion. Well, why are you that religion? Well, because it's the right religion. Well, why is it the right religion? Well, because, fill in the blank. I like medium rare steak. Why medium rare? It's pink in the middle, blah, blah, blah. Well, and then we start to justify why it is that we have the opinion that we have. And folks, it's no different here. Many of you have opinions on whether or not we should take comp photos, and frankly, your arguments may be very good ones. My opinion is it's up to the appraiser. I think there's times that they should be done. But folks, let me give you an example of why they shouldn't be done. I work very rural areas. It is not unusual, and I'm not exaggerating here, to have 8 comps that I need to take pictures of, and 6 of them I have not even seen the house because I can't get there from a public road. And I know when I'm working on that kind of report that I'm going to drive for an hour and a half all over Kingdom Come, and I'm going to get pictures of long driveways, vegetation, do not trespass. We don't call 911 with a picture of a gun on it. I mean, this is the types of pictures that I'm getting for comp photos. And guess what? I turn that in, and the client comes back and says, could you please provide MLS photo so that we can see what the house looks like? And I'm thinking, why the hell did I drive 45 minutes in one direction to end up using an MLS photo anyway? And by the way, I could have made that determination up front before the drive because I know my area and I know which properties I'm going to be able to see and which ones I'm not. Furthermore, why is it so important that I drive by the property? Well, Dustin, because of the externalities that you talked about. Yeah, guess what? I better know about those things already. I better. And if I don't, well, guess what? Yeah, that's an argument for driving comp photos. But what if I'm young and what if I'm a trainee? Great, drive your damn neighborhoods. Get used to it. Let me share with you something on the other side as well, and this has to do with safety. This has to do with your safety as appraisers, folks. And I'm sorry to be controversial here, but I'm just going to say it. What is it going to take for the lenders to back off this requirement for comp photos when we don't feel that it is safe to do so? I have heard story after story of people being chased down, being threatened, and thankfully, knock on wood, we haven't had anybody killed yet that we know of. Couldn't that happen? Well, it shouldn't have to, in my opinion. If you've got a dangerous neighborhood, you should be able to maybe you're going to drive the neighborhood. Okay, fine. But to slow down, roll down your window, stick your smartphone out and point it at a house and take a picture and then drive off, puts you in danger. I'm sorry, it does in some of the neighborhoods. Now, I don't have very many of those neighborhoods, but I do have rural neighborhoods that to do the same thing is also very dangerous. And frankly, if we're going to talk about safety, a lot of these things are down long, long roads where there's nowhere to hide. Where maybe in another neighborhood, you could turn a couple blocks here and a couple blocks there and backtrack a little bit here if you're being chased and you're safe, or drive to the nearest police station, which is what my good friend Blaine Fyan suggested when he was on the program talking about safety, right? But in my area, that can be 50 miles away. What's going to happen in between if they've got a little bit faster vehicle than I do? I wanted to say truck because that's usually the types of people that chase me down. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by 3 great companies, one of them, of course, being a la mode. Just this morning I went out and took some comp pictures with a la mode. Yes, I take comp pictures. And I was driving around, and I loved the fact that the comps were already in the report. And all I had to do was drive around and watch my little blue blinking light on my screen as I followed my GPS to each of the comps. And I could just stay on that map, click on the comp, stick my phone out the window, hopefully don't get killed, take a picture, and then move to the next one. A la mode has all kinds of mobile tools that will allow you to be more successful, more efficient. Okay, those two are synonymous, okay? Efficient and successful. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALA-MODE. We are sponsored, of course, by DataMaster. DataMaster, saw them just last week. The great group at DataMaster had an opportunity to talk with Rick and with Bo and with some of the others there, and just a great, great company who cares about saving appraisers time while not cutting, in fact, increasing the quality of their report. Folks, this is an investment in you It's an investment in your company. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. One more time, it's datamasterusa.com. And of course, we're sponsored by Working RE Magazine. Just recently, I read an article about comp photos in Working RE Magazine. How did I know about it, folks? I knew about it because it came to my email, because I'm signed up for their free FREE newsletter. Comes out on a weekly basis, a couple times a week. Some things I'm interested in, some I delete and move on. Takes me about half a second to decide, but I would say on a pretty regular basis, I've got some really good information that I can find out what's going on in my world. That's the appraisal world. It's Working RE Magazine. You can find them at workingre.com. All right, folks, we're back. We're talking about comp photos. There's an argument out there from a very respected individual who I have a great deal of respect for. A very smart individual, knows his stuff, have no beef at all with this individual. And he says, are we shooting ourselves in the foot by not wanting to take comp photos? And basically the argument is that by saying, comp photos are not important, that's allowed the GSEs to be more keen, more pushy toward this bifurcated system. Okay, this idea that someone else will gather the data. In other words, I think the gist of it, and this is just my synthesis of the article, and it was a great article. There's a lot of good information in there. But the gist of the article was, listen, if you're not going to put an importance on comp photos, okay, then why are we putting an importance on inspection? And you know what? I'm going to make the argument. Yes, it's going to be controversial, but again, it's my show. I can give you my opinion. I'm shrugging right now. You don't see me because it's audio, but I'm thinking, and? Now follow me here, okay? You've heard me talk a lot about, over the years, my Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 system within the appraisal, what I call the appraisal assembly line. And I know that's a controversial term in and of itself. What do you mean it's assembly line? Do you see yourself as a technician? Well, here's the whole point, right? There are parts of the appraisal process that are more technician side, and they're very Tier 1, Tier 2. This is very basic stuff, data entry. Okay, pulling up zoning and describing what the zoning is. Okay, but the analysis is the Tier 3. Using an analogy that you've heard me use for many years, the doctor's office, right? The analysis is the doctor. And you are the doctor. You're the professional. You're the lawyer, if you will. Okay, you're not the paralegal. You're not the PA. You're not the nurse. You're not the receptionist. You're not the billing person. Okay, that's not you. You're the appraiser. I'm a big fan, and if you take my coaching program, we will go through your entire process, and we will start to break things. One of the biggest things that we do is we break down your entire process. First of all, we come up with what your process is. Okay, many of you have not even done that, and that's okay. That's what the coaching is for. We break down your entire assembly line process. Okay, I will tell you in my case, there are 38 steps. From beginning to end, there are 38 steps to get a typical, and I'm going to emphasize that word, typical appraisal out the door, okay? And 8 of those, okay, there's 38 processes, 8 of those are what I call Tier 3 or analysis side, okay? Let me give you one of those, making adjustments. That is a Tier 3 level step that is part of the appraisal process. Let me give you a Tier 1, okay, setting the appointment, okay? Let me give you a Tier 2. Ready for this? This is where it gets controversial. Inspection. Yeah, let me repeat that. The inspection of the property is Tier 2. That means it doesn't take a whole lot of analytics. It is data gathering. Yes, it takes some skill. Yes, you need to understand how to sketch and use a laser, and you understand how to round, and you understand ANSI standards if that's what you use in your office. Okay, but it's still Tier 2. Tier 2. It's not Tier 1. Okay, it's not basic data entry. Okay, it's data gathering, and yes, it takes some skill and it takes some effort to learn what it takes to inspect a property, but it's not analytics. Therefore, it is not to the level of the doctor. And the argument that is used is if you don't care about comp photos, why should you care about the inspection? And here you go, folks. Ready for this? I don't. Folks, I can teach someone that I trust, that I think has integrity and that understands their job how to do an inspection in a couple of months. You follow me around with the number of appraisals that I do, and within a couple of months, you have a pretty good basis, and I'm willing to turn you loose, pat you on the rear end, and say, go for it, Johnny. Inspect that property. I'm not literally patting people on the rear end. Come on, guys. The point is, I'm willing to turn you and push you toward that inspection side, and I would give that up in a second. Okay, I would give that up in a second if my clients would allow me to do so, just like I would give out taking comp photos in a second if my clients would allow me to do so. I want you to think about that for a little bit, because the argument is, hey, if you don't care about comp photos, then no wonder we're going to bifurcated products, because the lenders see that as, oh, well, you know what? If comp photos aren't a big deal, then I guess inspection isn't either. And guess what? I would agree with them. Because inspection to me is not a big deal. It's about data gathering. Yes, are there arguments to be said, well, are really going to spend somebody out there as just a trainee? Won't they miss the mold underneath the kitchen? Well, no, not if I trained them to look for it. Okay. What about the argument that they could wear a body cam, okay, with the permission of the homeowner? Okay, there's a lot that can be seen there, and someone thinking out loud, you know what that means, that step of describing what you're seeing as you're seeing it? Folks, I'm sorry. You can't argue to me that I can do a better inspection on site than somebody who is well-trained and meticulous at doing it. I'll give you an example. There's an individual by the name of Scott in my appraisal office, and I have been on multiple inspections with Scott. He is an appraiser, yes. Okay, he's been doing it for 10 plus years. The guy is meticulous. And I'm going to say this, he's better at inspections than I am. So here the client says, no, Dustin, you have to do your own inspections, when they're actually going to get a better inspection with somebody else, somebody who I trust. Okay. Now, is there argument on the bifurcation process that we're sending Joe Blow, and as my good friend Tim told me this morning, somebody that knows how to do drywall and is doing this on the side? I mean, I get that, right? Not to diminish anybody that does drywall. I have an utmost respect for people that do drywall. I tried it once and I sucked. It's an art. And I kneel at your greatness of people who can do drywall. That's not the point. My point is they've not been trained on how to do inspections. Somebody who does drywall absolutely could do an inspection if they were trained properly. But the problem is many people are not trained properly on how to do an inspection. So let's talk about that rather than if it's even possible to have someone else do our inspections. That's it. That's all I have today, folks. I want you to just let that simmer a little bit. Just because we've always done comp photos, does that really mean that that's what we should continue and always do? What's the argument for? What's the argument against? I would love to hear your opinions. Please comment below. Just click on the episode here and go down and comment on this particular episode. Would love to hear. And if you've got a different point of view, I would love to have you on the program. I am not immune to having people who completely disagree with me on the program. In fact, I would love it. It would be a fun conversation, and I promise I would treat you with professionalism. Speaking of professionalism, folks, how is your office doing? Are there things that I can do to help you to be better at what you do? This is what I want you to do. I want you to go to my website. It's called theappraisercoach.com. Just type it in, theappraisercoach.com, okay? And then I want you to click on the top. There's a button called Products. Okay, I want you to click on products, and I want you to scroll for me. I think you will be amazed at the number of webinars and courses, and every topic that you can absolutely imagine is there. Okay, if you want to learn more about any aspect of your office, if you want to learn how to go paperless, for example, I've got a webinar on that. If you want to learn about mobile appraising, I've got a webinar on that. If you want to learn about human resources or technology, or rethinking your appraisal office from top to bottom, if you're ready for coaching on that and helping to get you where you need to be, where you can do more work in less time and make more money, check it out. Go to theappraisercoach.com/products.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.